Nation.
Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Go. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. We rollin'!
Covering MMA from all over the world, this is the premier stop for all your combat sports needs. MMA Junkie Radio, the only show broadcasting live from the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. The lights are on and the mics are hot. It's time to get your MMA fix, junkies. Take it away, Big John.
Gorgeous George and Goes, are you ready? Junkie Nation, are you ready? Well, let's get it on.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you're listening to the MMA Junkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me as always is the devious and dastardly Goes, Ari's co-host. To my left, it's the fight analyst, Dan Tom. Back east, producing Jumbo Josh. What's up, fellas?
What up, Holmes?
Oh, man. Happy to be here. Better than sitting at home, miserable on the couch.
You
sick all
survived.
weekend, yeah.
You survived, sir.
I did, man. But, as soon as I got on the road, I just started sweating profusely. And I don't know. Everyone says, is that the flu breaking or something like that? Or the cold breaking?
Yeah.
God, I've heard all these terms all these years, and I've never really figured out who's right, who's wrong. Remember I was telling you earlier today, sore throat, stay away from dairy, who knows what.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I used to date a doctor, and she kind of cleared up a lot of what is like what old people say.
Right.
And then what's like myth and
right.
stuff like that. So now I kind of got a firm grasp on colds.
What I'm certain of is 10 days is what it lasts, and you have a miserable 2 to 3. Sometimes you can shake one off. If you feel one coming, you just kind of get a good night's rest, put some OJ in you, you'll be all right.
That's where I'm at right now. I think I can still fight it.
There you go. Fight on. But once you get it, it's a miserable, like I said, 2-3 days, and then you just have to, like, see it through. That's where I'm at. So, anyway, I don't think I'm contagious. I hope you guys are all right. UFC Wichita took place this past Saturday night. And that saw Junior Dos Santos defeat Derek Lewis in the main event. Junior Dos Santos now 15-4 in the UFC. And in a second, we'll go over Junior's resume. It is impressive, guys, over the years, what he's done against who. He just has a lot of great wins. Now that's 3 in a row for him, by the way. He wants a title shot. He's having none of DC versus Lesnar. Again, something we can get into, but he did defeat Derek Lewis. It looked awesome, and can't wait to talk about it with you guys. Elizio Zaleski Dos Santos also defeated Curtis Millender in the co-main event. So 2 guys that have become junkie favorites just took losses on Saturday night. Kind of bummed me out. I didn't even have the energy to really sit around through post-fights or anything like that. I just wanted to go back to bed. You know, the thing started at 2 p.m. Pacific. Mm-hmm. And even though they keep up a good pace on ESPN Plus, I was still thinking, that's a long day, man. When you start throwing in the Fight Pass fights, or what used to be known as those, I guess they're still there. It really is a long day if you commit to all of them. But I was just glad that it was over, and I'm glad this cold's almost over. So we're definitely going to talk about all that, the whole card, everything that came out of Wichita. And along the way, we'll take your calls, 877 Fight 93, 877-344-4893. Now, just as I was walking in, I was alerted of some news.
What news?
And it involves the most polarizing, most popular, richest fighter in the sport of mixed martial arts.
Well, it's certainly not legal trouble, is it then?
Conor McGregor. And I didn't even have time to sift through this. Like, what's the deal here?
Well, he was arrested for strong arm robbery, criminal mischief.
Wait a minute. I thought you just took somebody's phone away and stomped on it.
Well, that's the term, right?
Strong arm robbery?
I was talking to an attorney before we came on the air, and he kind of laughed at that, too. And he said, these are just terms that get thrown out for it.
Right.
But, yeah, somebody tried to videotape him, photograph him coming out of a nightclub really early in the morning.
Like a TMZ, huh?
Snatched it right out of there. Well, no, actually the person was addressed as a fan. in the news reports that I've heard.
Okay.
No,
I just meant TMZ style. You catch a celebrity
I
walking
mean, it
out
could
of a
just
club.
be just a Yahoo just kind of taking pics, like, that's my favorite fighter, or whatever. Who knows what was behind it.
Yeah.
But he went, grabbed the phone, threw it on the floor, stomped on it, took it, and he wasn't arrested on the scene, but he was arrested later in the day I believe, at his hotel. And, yeah, man, I mean, the troubles just don't stop for this guy. He just finished his community service for what happened out there in Brooklyn, and now here we go. So I guess it kind of opens up a little bit of a can of worms, because what we're trying to figure out here is if this can have any ramifications on what happened out there in New York. From what I've heard from our little friend that I was speaking to before we went on the air, that ship may have already sailed, and he might have gotten lucky with that. But there is a possibility. Always, he's digging through some stuff right now that could come back to bite him in the ass and could come back to haunt him. But this guy, I mean, if you can't handle what's going on your own, then you have to have people around you that are going to help you with those decisions. Where you see that and you go, what the fuck is that? And you start moving, somebody holds you and says, hey, man, you can't be doing these things. Let me handle it, or that sort of thing, right? If you can't make those decisions on your own, then you need people around you all the time that are going to do that for you.
This took place in Miami Beach, and according to Miami-Dade County Jail's website, McGregor charges of strong-arm robbery and criminal mischief of $1,000 or more come with bonds of $7,500 and $5,000 respectively, which I'm sure he can afford to post. And as more develops on this story, we will see if we can update this later in the show as well. But to react to this I'm just shaking my head. Two things. One, come on already. Like, you have to learn. You have to learn that perhaps where you're from, and not to disparage the country of Ireland, but I've been in other countries outside the U.S., and you feel like a different type of person, a more powerful person that can sweep things under the rug. I've been in Brazil, I've been in Mexico and Peru, where when someone pulls you over, the first thing you start saying is, how much do you got? You know what I mean? Just so that you can tell the cop, come on, leave us alone. Here's 20, here's 100, here's whatever the currency is. And it works oftentimes. I would think, without having ever stepped in the foot of Ireland, that Ireland's a little bit different. All right? I'm picking on the Latin American countries. And I can get away with it because I'm Latin American. Isn't that what everybody always says?
A little bit.
I'm Jewish. I can get away with the Jewish jokes. I'm black. I can get away. It's like, here we go. So I'm going to play that card. I can get away with it. But it's true. All right? When I've been to the European countries, I haven't gotten that feeling. Like when we were in Germany for 2 weeks for the World Cup, I didn't get any feeling like, oh, that guy can be bribed or whatever. Unless you're talking about a club setting. Hey, I want a table, or I don't want to wait in line, blah, blah, blah. So you would think he would just know better. But the States is like a second home to him. It's where his manager is, that's the country the manager is based in and is from, Adiatar. He knows this. He knows better. He's already had these problems with the law. You just can't do that without paying some sort of repercussions. I mean, it's such a pain in the ass to go to jail and sit there, you know what I mean? When you could be doing something else at 5 a.m., having breakfast, banging a stripper. I don't know. That's one thing. Just the legal side of it. The other side of it is I'm disappointed because in the last few weeks, I had gotten the feeling that Conor was starting to kind of get past this bad boy thing and settling down. I don't know if it was the second kid or just some recent classy tweets that he's sent over to Max Holloway or to, Anderson Silva. Just being respectful of the sport, to his fellow, colleagues in the sport, the fellow
Gracie
comrades.
Family.
Yeah, and saying I'd love to participate here. Brazil's always been good to me. I just remember select tweets from the past few weeks that impressed me, and I thought, I think I even ran to see if he was 30 or not, and I was like, okay, I get it. There's just a maturity here, and he doesn't need to really be this bad guy anymore. I mean, once you have so much money, that shtick's done. I think he could just be the guy that's now promoting. What's his suit line? August McGregor. That or proper 12 whiskey? You know, the businessman. Like, at some point, it's just, that's done. And I really thought we were there. And when I see this, I'm like, come on, man. What was so bad about somebody wanting to take a picture?
Well,
We don't know all the details. If this guy was a jerk for the whole night and then homeboy just had it with him, maybe. But,
I mean, this is really early in the morning. So if this were like at noon, I could come up with a few reasons why somebody could be upset. Hey, I'm having lunch with my family. I have my baby in my arms or something. But this is really early. I mean, and it's at a club setting. You got to know that people are going to want to do things like this. Again, if you can't handle that situation, either don't be in it or be somewhere where somebody can make those decisions for you.
Again, we're reacting to former UFC 2-division champion Conor McGregor, who was arrested in Miami Beach on charges of strong arm robbery and criminal mischief. He was booked into the Miami-Dade County Jail tonight, according to the jail's website, after an incident that allegedly took place early in the day outside the Fontainebleau Miami Beach Hotel, according to a report in the Miami Herald. All right, what do you think about this, Dan Tom?
To be honest, you guys kind of took the talking points right out of my mouth. Nothing much more to add to that, but I just will say it kind of validates for people like myself that had a really bad taste in their mouth after UFC 205, and people say, you're a hater. I'm like, really? I don't know, because I think that I believe me, I wish I was wrong. I wish I was wrong about John Jones too, but you could have called me a hater back then, and no matter how much you try to go to bat for these guys, or just give them fair coverage as media, they just spit in the face of it and spit in the face of all their opportunity. And it's really gross. And it's not the martial artist that I knew McGregor to come up to be when places like MMAjunkie were the only one providing him coverage, you guys in particular. And this isn't the same guy. And if it is, I mean, the sad part is it is the same guy, but you guys get what I'm saying here. So. Mm-hmm. As far as, I mean, that's all I can really expound upon is my personal feelings, because you guys are right. We don't really have too much to say about that. And I was going to just kind of focus on what Goes was saying about the time of day is what stands out about the article to me. That is hugely telling. What are you doing being intoxicated at that time of day, especially if you are, quote-unquote, getting ready for a fight or, quote-unquote, like George was saying, showing nice PR. But to be honest, George, I kind of saw through it. To me, I think it's just him doing good PR because, let's be honest, this aside, for all the legal trouble he's gotten himself into, or if you want to put your tinfoil hat on for other legal troubles there, I think that's what that was about. I think that's why his Twitter has turned into a more positive PR. Sadly, not to quote Nate Diaz, but that quote is really getting its miles, guys. I'm not surprised.
Yeah. And here's the thing, dude. Like,
you left the part out.
Yeah, there we go.
Here's the thing is, I think if you look at his combat sports record as of late, it hasn't been great, okay? I think that part of winning the public over as, hey, I'm the greatest fighter on the planet, that ship has sailed a little bit, okay? If I were him, I would be focusing more on what Dan talked about, proper 12 whiskey, or you brought up the suits, right? Mm-hmm. The stuff that's going to come in the future when you retire from fighting. You want people to like you because you're a likable person, so that they can come watch your movies, so that they can buy your whiskey, so that they can buy your suits, right? But nobody's going to do that if they think you're an asshole. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. I would even say, like, this isn't so much as damaging for him in the fight world, because they'll always figure out a way to make this guy fight whoever the hell they want, whenever they want, okay? But the other stuff after that, post-fight life, you have to be somewhat of a respectable individual if you want people to be buying your products, right?
Well, we've seen this story before, guys, and the reason why I really want to bounce it off you guys, because you guys have more of a well of knowledge to pull from me, not just from combat sports, but more importantly, sports in general. How many times have we seen a guy that maybe just came at the right place, the right time, and sure, he may have changed the game forever and did some accolades that may still stand the test of time, whether it be football or basketball, but they were brought to market, they were pushed out there, and with the whole rock star mentality that they fizzled out, and they didn't recover. Or maybe they did. Is there any parallels that he's striking? Because I feel like we've tasted the story. It smacks of a story we've smelled so many times before, but I'm struggling to come across who it is, because, again, he's a human being at the end of the day. I'm not making an excuse for him here. I'm just putting reason to why somebody could go make repeated bad decisions, let's just say. More than a fair way to put it, right, guys?
Yeah.
I'll go back to something that you guys may just laugh off, but I still think there's truth to it. In the movie Titanic, they critique a lady. What was she? The unsinkable Molly Brown?
Yeah.
Okay. And who was the actress that played it? Very popular lady, great actress.
She was in Misery. Oh my God, what is her name?
Dolores Claiborne?
Yeah, she was in that. We know who you're talking
Why
about.
would we know all their
so
character
that lady
names?
right there, she came across Kathy Bates.
Good job.
She came across money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the Countess or some of those really, really ritzy and rich ladies kind of talk behind her back and under their breath and say new money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of laughed at that. I thought, wow, that's kind of a funny bag. It's kind of a funny insult if you're saying it probably behind the person's back. I guess you could joke it with them, like if somebody doesn't know how to sit down and act. Well, anyway, in the movie Leonardo DiCaprio, Jack Dawson, even he's not familiar. Like he's wearing the tuxedo. He's a good-looking dude. So okay, the looks, all right, I got that down. But where do I start with the food? And she says, start with from the outside and work your way in as far as the utensils. Guys, it's the same mess I would be. All right, if I came into a ton of money and I was in these settings, I would probably be asking somebody, all right, take me to class here. Mom and Dad taught us a lot. Seating a lady, pulling her chair, opening doors, please, thanks you, this, that, whatever. But there's just like another level. And anyway, I think this also applies to the streets.
Yeah.
And McGregor isn't really from if you see the stories that they've done on him, it's not like he comes from poverty. I mean, his mom and dad were set. He had a trade. He was a plumber. He was working in it. He didn't like it, and he was struggling. But again, I don't think there was any fear of maybe this guy would be homeless or anything like that.
There's a lot of unemployed fighters, by the way, collecting on the dole, by the way, whether in America or elsewhere, and they're still trading. That's not a crazy story.
Yeah.
That's your point.
And so it just seemed like the mom and dad also seemed like people that would probably treat their kids, teach their kids, I should say, how to act in certain situations. All right, but when you get to this. And the company he's with and the elbows, who he's with now, I think he's just acting a different way, and he doesn't know how to react to fame and power and money. And that, along with the allegations of drug usage, who knows what kind of road that's taken him. I mean, come on. Like, if you want people to sit at your beck and call and hang on to every single one of your words, well, guess what comes with that? A lot of people that also want to take your picture and be next to you and ask you a question and hope you answer them on Twitter. There's good and there's bad. They kind of go side by side. So to act like that, I don't know. Now, look, I've also maybe watched too many movies, and I always wonder if some of these celebs, just to stay in the limelight, will do these little misdemeanor bullshit things where they don't really hurt anybody, nobody gets hurt, but guess what? Here comes the press. I don't think Conor needs to do that. I think that's more of a 90s thing, because all you got to do is tweet or Instagram, and you get the likes, and you get the following, and an opportunity happens for you. So you don't really need that like you did back in the days. Hey, put a bullet in my thigh, that way the people really think I'm from Inglewood or whatever, you know what I mean? I don't think he needs to do any of that stuff.
Yeah, like that Rick Ross guy. I get so mad when I walk by that Rick Ross poster, by the way, here in Mandalay Bay. That guy is not a rap. The real Rick Ross is not a rapper. Sorry, go ahead.
But it leads me back to, again, is this stupidity or what is this?
I don't know. It's when I'm thinking of parallels, like you think of Tyson maybe too, the rise and then the crime, but it's like that. I don't know. Maybe that's more personal, environmental. I don't think even he had those same. He didn't grow up in Brownsville, Brooklyn. He didn't have the same adversities growing up. To your point, George, right? But I do think of like kind of what make. But the point you are making as far as money and old money, I like that. I'll tie Titanic though with to Manos de Piedra. Well, yeah, and I just spoke about New York being the turning point for Conor. You could argue New York was the turning point for Duran as well, right? That's where we saw him after he won his first one up in Canada, the rematches from Madison Square Garden. But before that, he was already partying in New York. That kind of was a turning point, right, of his career, going excess and not just going up in weight, but really getting heavy, right, with the women and stuff like that. And you can totally picture that. That's the parallel that I see in my head, I guess.
And here's another thing. A lot of times, these superstars, they'll tell you, I've learned from my predecessors. The same way Ali learned from Gorgeous George, and Ric Flair learned from Ali, and Money Mayweather learned from Ric Flair, and Conor McGregor learned from Money Mayweather, and someone will learn from them. haven't you also learned their pitfalls, their downfalls, and the mistakes? You should, right? If you're smart enough to catch on to some of the great things that they did from a marketing sense or whatever, then learn from the mistakes too.
That's tough to say because how many of us fall into like credit card debt? And we know we're not dumb. We get it and we go, but we'll be okay. I mean, people still do it, but you're right. To that level where you keep doing it over and over, that's a little much.
I think a big key, though, I think is a support system. If you look at the common threads, I think support system is huge. You look at, we don't talk about this. It's more common in boxing, having a good relationship even with your coach, much less having good management. I mean, coach is kind of first and foremost. You don't even get to a position where management matters, right? You don't get to a position where you get money. Yeah, that all comes later. You need a good relationship. And you look at a lot of these guys, when they fell off, it was, maybe Customato kind of dying with Tyson. He gets over with a bad management. Or look at more relevant guys who do it well. I talk about Frankie Edgar a lot. Like, he's a guy where, like, I think we were talking about having kids can change fighters, and I pointed to Frankie Edgar. He seems like a guy that could pop out a kid. You just give him a matchup. He picks up his lunchbox and goes to work. But I think, again, you look at these common threads, and he's got a strong sense of family. He's got a good relationship with his family, his father. He's got his own family grounding him, a great team, great relationship with his coach. I think those are the things at the end of the day. And, again, not to go too deep into the rumor mill because that's not my beat, and I don't really care to do this. But since we're talking about Conor, guys, I don't lurk too closely, but for him popping up in Miami, and I hear that he's training at SBG satellite schools. Is the relationship part of the rumor mill? Is the relationship right now with him and Kavanaugh? We've seen them play poker face before and come out after UFC 202, despite making that big comeback win against Nate Diaz. There was another adversity there we weren't aware of, guys. That was him and Kavanaugh weren't on the same page. They were coming and going in the gym different times. I guess what I'm saying is, I've heard spellings of those rumors here, and you're playing connect the dots, and he shows up in Miami committing crimes. Maybe the home connection, this common thread I'm talking about, isn't quite strong right now.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is, and I don't think it has been. I think they've also treated it as a business transaction when they have been able to get back together and make it happen. But same thing, from what I've been able to catch from Kavanaugh, it's not what it was. I also saw a subliminal message from McGregor addressing the strategy versus Habib, and I wondered if that was directed to Kavanaugh because he wasn't specific, or just his coaches in general. Owen Roddy is his striking coach. John Kavanaugh is kind of his overall head coach. He was questioning that, and I don't know. I've met this kid from when he was nothing like this.
yeah, you guys did. Yes,
he was just a nice dude with so much promise, and he fulfilled it, and he could still be a major success outside of MMA as well, just because of what he's been able to accomplish. Let's not forget he did win 2 titles, very impressively, both of them. One of them against an all-time legend in Jose Aldo, the other one against a very respectable lightweight stud in Eddie Alvarez.
Yeah.
But
history books will be real kind of Eddie Alvarez in that win.
But everyone's getting better every day, and Conor McGregor isn't. You can bask in these millions or billions or whatever you have, but if you're not out there working, guess what? Other people are. And so when you come back, if you haven't gained on them or kept that gap from them gaining on you, then you walk into a fight with 4-ounce gloves, anything can happen, man. We're reacting to Conor McGregor. The latest on him is he was arrested on I can't say this with a straight face. Strong arm robbery, criminal mischief charges in Miami Beach. I can't believe the way they worded out there in Miami-Dade County. Basically, he took somebody's allegedly took a phone from a man taking photos of him outside of the hotel and smashed it. He was at the Fontainebleau Miami Beach Hotel, according to a report in the Miami Herald. Go ahead.
How embarrassing would it be the police, they're writing up the ticket, and he writes strong arm robbery, looks up at you, crosses it out, and just writes limp arm robbery? Like,
it's just, whatever. All right. We got to take a break. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 90. Fight Nation Rush. Oh, my God. I'm so confused here.
Hey, join in and call us at 877-FIGHT-93. Join in the discussion. There's a lot to talk about here. We want to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Fight Nation 93. We'll be right back.
Let's see. Up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, start. You told me that code would get rid of them. Yeah, well, they're still here. Okay, but now they know I tried to kill them. Hold on, Mom. Here are George and Goes.
Fantasy Sports Radio is helping you win no matter what game you play. Hear Fantasy Football Talk with the Guru, John Hansen, weekdays at 7 Eastern, followed by Fantasy Baseball Draft advice and strategy from the best experts. Plus, get daily fantasy sports advice for NBA, PGA, and more. Fantasy Sports Radio on Sirius 210 XM87 and streaming on your phone and at home on Sirius XM connected devices and speakers. Excuse me. Excuse me. All right. So, we were talking about the big news today. Conor McGregor arrested Monday in Miami Beach for allegedly smashing a person's phone. That comes from the Miami Herald. They were the first to put it out. And of course, everyone, including MMAjunkie, has got a version of that. There really aren't too many details wherever you go. And what we do know is he was booked for robbery, strong arm, and criminal mischief. He's currently being held on $12,500 bail. This took place outside the Fontainebleau Hotel in Miami Beach. Now, guys, and by the way, we'd love to hear your thoughts. 877-FIGHT-93, 877-344-4893. By the way, I had actually seen over the weekend, he did a nice thing for his mom by celebrating a birthday of hers. And I saw all the Versace stuff going on. But I figured there was a Versace theme, and this was happening again back in Ireland. It was happening. I guess you can rent out this Versace mansion in Miami Beach. So yet again, he's got a lot of money and he's able to do this. Cool. I'm not hating. That sounds like fun. They look like they had a good time. They had a lot of their clothing. I know Conor's a big fan, and that's awesome, man. But this wasn't enough. I guess you go out and you start hitting the clubs and stuff happens, and man, you got to keep it together. You really do got to keep it together. This should just not be happening.
Well, especially just fresh off of what just happened.
Correct. He was just in Brooklyn completing, I wouldn't want to call it a sentence, but basically he had like community service, right?
Yeah.
He had to pay a fine and some community service, and he spent a couple days working in 2 different churches in the borough of Brooklyn inside of New York City. He did that, completed it. The people in these parishes had nice things to say. I guess he handled it. It was very incognito, very low-key. Nobody knew about it until it was all done. And now he was clear, of any problems in New York. A few days later, he's got problems in Miami.
You see George Masvidal's tweet? He quote-tweeted our MMAjunkie report of it and said, I think, oh gosh, what did he say? I don't want to mess it up now, but no one gets away with anything in my city for free was the gist of the tweet. Then he had some Spanish hashtag Miami. That's so Masvidal.
Yeah. All right. Who do we have, Goes? Let's talk on the phone to Junkie Nation.
We got Showtime.
What's up, Showtime? How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
Not much, and you?
Man, I was chilling, just having a normal night, drinking me a beer until I looked up and saw the Conor flashing on the bottom of my screen. Guys, you know something? This really interesting, man. When it comes to these cell phones, they don't really play. I don't know if it's something with law enforcement. Think about when Floyd got in trouble out in Vegas, and they didn't charge him with battery, but they charged him with like the grand larceny for that, for that cell phone. It's something, when you fuck with somebody's phone, that's kind of like some serious shit. It seems like it wouldn't be nothing. You just pay for the phone. But let me ask y'all this, man. Conor not even a U.S. citizen, man, and he's getting in a lot of stuff in the U.S., man. Conor better slow his roll, man. He better slow his roll.
Didn't think of that.
Good point.
Didn't think of that because of the visa issues. Yeah. Work visa issues, they can get complicated,
Well, there's a will, there's a way, but that's a great point.
Keep it 100. If Conor was a Mexican, he'd be gone. So let's just keep it 100, huh?
I was thinking about something, Showtime, and I think the phone, the fact that he destroyed it was one thing, and then the fact that he took it as well was another thing. So I think he got in trouble on 2 counts there.
You know, while we have Showtime,
they don't play about the phones.
Hey, Showtime, while we have you on the phone, maybe I can do the hypothetical hitchhiker game with you. But people that don't know, a Showtime normal caller, MMA Junkie Radio, is also a truck driver. And considering this news, guys, usually we do the hypothetical hitchhike from Florida to California. With this news, here's a hypothetical hitchhike for you, Showtime. You're a truck driver. You got a load. You got to go from Florida to California. But there are 2 powerful men, both in different industries, but they're both in legal trouble right now, okay? One of them, obviously, is Conor McGregor. But he needs to get out of Florida for obvious reasons, right? He just made bail. He needs to get out of there. He's like, Showtime, I need a ride. But the other guy, rich and powerful as well, Harvey Weinstein. He's on his way back to Hollywood to make his Hollywood comeback. Who do you pick up, Showtime? You still you get the most out of your ride, but you still, you got a job at the end of the day. You want to make it there. Who do you pick?
Got to be Conor.
I'll take Conor because I'll bust Harvey Weinstein with a bat, man. Yeah, I'll take Conor, man.
Yeah, but how many people do you think recognize a picture of Conor McGregor versus Harvey Weinstein? You know what I'm saying? You'd be, even if Conor was hypothetically on his best behavior, which you got to get through how many states of Conor McGregor not getting into some stuff, but people are going to be like, hey, it's Conor.
Because of the trouble he can get into?
Just in general, even no, just
I just
in general,
think it'd be more fun.
McGregor.
Talking a lot of MMA.
Pull over and sell your truck, I think, and call Uber.
Yeah.
Call it a day.
Yeah, Conor had me driving down the freeway drinking.
That'd be some crazy social media posts and.
But Harvey's probably going to pay you really well, and he's going to need to be keeping discreet because he's Harvey freaking Weinstein, right? And you're not going to get any drama. Maybe hey, maybe he wants to party one night. I don't know, Showtime. I don't know what you're into. I'm just saying, just throwing it out there. All right, Conor, it is.
Showtime. Let me ask you something.
We'll drink some whiskey.
As a fan, does any of this stuff ever turn you off as far as watching him as a fighter? I remember when Mike Tyson went through his ordeal, there were a couple fans that just kind of put their foot down and said, I'm not ordering a fight from that guy ever again. Would that ever deter you from watching a Conor McGregor fight?
Nah, because for one, he's not doing anything to women and kids, man. He just, if you're doing stuff to women and kids and old people or animals, then it's a little bit different. But Conor, you know what? Conor act like a frat boy. That's what he act like. He get drunk and just act crazy. He need to get that frat boy out of him, man. I bet he was drunk.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. He just needs to grow up, man. I mean, that's enough.
Yeah, I mean, this happens to tons of celebrities in the entertainment world, but it doesn't happen to them all. It's such a small percentage. So if all those other people can keep it together, how is it that he can? I don't get it.
It sounds like Lindsay Lohan-ish or want to be a thug, which you're not. You're a professional fighter. You don't even need to be tough because you're one of the toughest men on the planet, with them hands. So why do you need to pretend that you're not really a gangster? So, and like that just is, I don't know. This is
for real hypothetical, guys. For real hypothetical. What if let's keep in mind this is Conor McGregor. He has certain legal allegations, past, present, whatever, right? Let's just picture it as it is. Let's say this gentleman or whoever it was, this person, captured something of him doing something really bad.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. Was there anything that led up to it? You know what I mean? Where Conor had enough, and you're right.
I mean, because there's probably let's be honest. There's about 5 things we could all think of off the top of our head that maybe if we were in Conor's shoes might be worth it in comparison to what else could happen if whatever's on that phone gets out. I mean, we just had that political incident of the gentleman. I'm not familiar with the show faking the attack and the whole tie-in, and they eventually got him. But the tie-in was your phone, right? The police need your phone, not just for proof of who you call. There's GPS. The phones say so much, can tell so much of something these days that. Celebrities, obviously, they're aware of it. Between getting their phones hacked online to getting caught on camera, right? They're the most paranoid out of anybody. Not making excuses for what Conor did, but I'm just trying to put that in my mindset,
this thing was on our site at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time. We went on the air at 5, so there just really isn't many details coming in. But again, I think would have someone do that for me. Just grab that guy's phone and we'll deal with the repercussions.
Sure, right?
I got you, but just not me. I don't know.
He has enough
that's what I think I would do if I was a rich dude. We have a quote from Conor McGregor's attorney. So first, let me update something here. Conor, thanks for the call, Showtime. Sorry about that. Conor McGregor was arrested on strong-arm robbery, criminal mischief charges in Miami Beach, and He was booked into the Miami-Dade County Jail. So this was in regards to an incident that had taken place earlier in the day, 5 a.m. So really late night, early morning, at the Fontainebleau Miami Beach Hotel, according to a report in the Miami Herald. So the details are still slow in coming in, but he was taken to the jail. And let me see here. So now what we have is a quote from McGregor's attorney. Here's the quote. Last evening, Conor McGregor was involved in a minor altercation involving a cell phone that resulted in a call to law enforcement. Samuel J. Rubin Jr., a Miami-based attorney representing McGregor, said in a statement, Mr. McGregor appreciates the response of law enforcement and pledges his full cooperation.
Last evening, that would, unless this article is meant for an Irish or European release, which technically it would be last evening because he's not getting booked till tonight. Does that infer that it wasn't a daytime of today?
Everything I've seen was this was a 5 a.m. thing, and then they had to go to his hotel and go through the whole pressing charges or whatever deal.
Someone saw something they weren't supposed to.
Maybe. Who knows? All right. So let's
take this call.
Who do we have?
Scott from Florida.
Scott, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you, buddy.
I really think, I think, first of all, Connor's my guy, so I'm a little biased here, but I think we're all jumping the gun a little quick. We don't really know anything that happened. Now the dates and times are kind of changing a little bit. So let me ask you a question. Do we know what kind of phone this was?
Cell phone is all I read.
Okay, so let me hit you.
Oh, I know where you're headed. I know where you're headed with this. There's a chance it may be one of those Samsungs that explodes, and he was trying to take it out of the guy's hand.
You took the words out of my mouth. Yes,
looking out for him. Therefore, that guy could go to an Apple store and pick up an XR. I got you, man. I got you, Scott.
Scott should be representing him.
Trying to save this guy's life.
Yeah,
he was saving this guy's life, and that's why he said, "I appreciate the police response," because he did. He appreciated the emergency response. He was just trying to do the guy a favor. He said, "I'll take a selfie with you," and he saw it happening. He knocked the phone to the ground, but his lightning fast speed is too quick for this guy, and he didn't realize what was happening. So he said, "My phone." And Connor tried to explain himself with the accent. It's such a thick accent, and it's just a big misunderstanding.
Plus, if there was any form of gasoline or anything like that around that led towards the club or the hotel, he was actually everybody in that hotel or in that club was in jeopardy. So therefore,
it's real muggy in Florida too. So condensation on the phone. He probably slipped out of his hand.
I like
condensation.
Good stuff.
Absolutely.
Good stuff, Scott. Thanks for calling in. All right, we're going to take a break. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 93. Stay close. We'll be right back. We'll talk a little bit about UFC Wichita, Junior Dos Santos, and his big win over Derek Lewis in the main event.
Tell your boss to reschedule that meeting. Call your wife and tell her lunch is off. It's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes.
All right, we're back. Still reacting to this news that we got prior to the show's start. Conor McGregor arrested on strong-arm robbery. That's what they're calling it over there in Miami-Dade County. He was arrested on strong-arm robbery, criminal mischief charges. This is from an incident that took place on Miami Beach. He was booked in the Miami-Dade County Jail tonight. And this is in response to an incident that allegedly took place early in the day outside the Fontainebleau Miami Beach Hotel, according to a report in the Miami Herald. According to the report, McGregor allegedly took the phone from a man taking photos of him outside the hotel and smashed it. According to Miami-Dade County Jail's website, McGregor's charges of strong-arm robbery and criminal mischief of $1,000 or more came with bonds of $7,500 and $5,000 respectively.
Goes to show you in the celebrity world, right? Like, I mean, go back a week. What was everybody talking about? R. Kelly, right? Then Michael Jackson. Then back on R. Kelly. Then this. Trump, like.
Jussie Smollett, was that the other guy?
Yeah, that guy. I mean.
That's like so much way bigger than this. This is big because it's our sport's biggest star. But I think this will be something pretty minor. Nobody was hurt. Nobody was hurt. That's the good thing.
Yeah.
If somebody had been beat up or hurt in any way, but obviously there'll have to be some repercussions for paying, this gentleman for his phone. Or I was thinking about it. If Dan's the TMZ guy and I grab his phone and smash it, I owe him at least what that camera cost. But what if he had captured? What if earlier in that day, Dan's also working with supermodels, and not everything goes to a cloud. Some stuff's still stored on memory cards, right? So if you have some valuable stuff there as well, some of it is not replaceable. Like the phone, yeah, you got emails and all that, but I think everything goes to a cloud. I don't know how everybody else's
That's like the pain and suffering, right?
Can you imagine that?
I guess, yeah, if you were physically threatened or if you're having nightmares over this incident.
I would have so much fun in this hypothetical, by the way, George, handing Conor McGregor that invoice. Be like, all right, $900 for an iPhone. All right, that's a little pricey, but whatever. Well, $300 for a nude photo of ex-girlfriend. Hey, man, I got to put these things at a price somewhere, dude.
I mean, you never know. It could have been at his kid's, I don't know, recital or something.
I guess, yeah.
I think that's what they call.
This is a stretch of what I'm just kind of saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
A phone, how bad does it get? Maybe the person needed the phone to call his Lyft. I mean, you can usually just ask them. I mean, what attorneys have told me is, how much did you suffer because of all this? How much did that person suffer because of all this? What can you prove that you really suffered because someone grabbed your phone and took it and smashed it? All right, he owes you for the phone, and do you want to press charges? Okay, sure, go ahead. But now on top of that, what are you really gonna, what do you stand to gain from this?
Well, I think in this day and age, I mean, now because of things like social media, now you can fall back on. Turns out it was George Garcia's phone that got smashed. Aha! Your phone got smashed by Conor McGregor. You got punked. Bullying, or who knows. Now I can't go outside my house because people make fun of me for this incident. I mean, people just tend to pile on. But I mean, you're right. The incident is small.
Yeah.
But if you can somehow tie it into what he just got off for, if it's officially done, if it wasn't, then yeah, that's going to have a big effect on his career. And things like what Showtime brought up, his visa, his work visa, like he can only do so many things.
That was one of the best points of the whole hour. Yeah, he's right. How many times can you flirt with that? And then put yourself in a position where you can't earn in the United States, which means you're now part of the Fight Pass shows that are coming to you live at 7 in the morning or whatever. Man, this is ridiculous.
Sponsors.
You know what I want to see? I want to see the interview with the person. When are they allowed to be interviewed, and will that come out? The person.
That other person.
Yeah, because that's what I got to imagine that person would say, like, oh, this is what happened because I took a picture of him doing X, right? And I don't know if that could be involved in a settlement. So, but I wonder if this person's double dipping where it's like, okay, hold out, see what you can get from a settlement for Conor, like we're talking about. But I wonder if there's another part of it. Maybe especially if we don't hear from this person in the next 24 hours, makes me wonder if they're holding out to the highest bidder for the other end what they can sell to the media. Because you guys know there's some dark stuff with that TMZ stuff. People will pay real good to get that first statement from that person. So
I thought somebody said, or I thought in the article it might have said that it had been recorded. There's footage of it or something.
Oh, really?
I thought.
Okay,
I read
well,
that.
TMZ Sports did a little bit of an update.
Okay.
So we already have the response from the attorney that's representing Conor McGregor. I'll say it one more time. Last evening, Conor McGregor was involved in a minor altercation over a cell phone that resulted in a call to law enforcement. Mr. McGregor appreciates the response of law enforcement and pledges his full cooperation. That's the end of the quote. Now, the way their story is worded, it says Conor McGregor has been arrested again, this time for allegedly smashing a phone of a fan outside the Fontainebleau Hotel in Miami Beach, according to the police report obtained by TMZ Sports at around 5 a.m. Monday. So that's earlier today, guys. He must have went out Sunday night, partied, and this is 5 a.m. this morning. The owner of the phone was walking out of the hotel at the same time as Conor, and as the fan attempted to take a photo, Conor slapped the victim's phone out of his hand, causing it to fall to the ground. McGregor then allegedly stomped on the phone several times, damaging it. According to two cops. McGregor then picked up the phone and walked away with it. It appears the incident was captured on surveillance video. He's been booked for robbery / strong arm and criminal mischief. I mentioned that earlier. This is for over $1,000, and he's currently being held on $12,500 bail. So that's why they didn't make the arrest at that moment. They made the arrest later in the day, meaning just a few hours ago, and that's why he's currently on bail. It's not like he doesn't have the money to post that up. It's unclear why Conor was outside the hotel at 5 a.m., but it seems he and the fan were leaving Live nightclub, which is inside the hotel. Live closes at 5 a.m. It appears Conor went back to the Miami home where he was staying. The alleged victim subsequently filed a police report. Cops went to Conor's home and arrested him just before 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.
Man, I wish we had a Rick James quote drop right now.
What if he, by the way, was in town and he helped celebrate his mom's birthday by renting out the Versace mansion? I saw pics of that. It looked really, really cool. But what if just family day today, him, his significant other, I'm not sure if it's a fiance, wife, or girlfriend. I'll just call it girlfriend. I think it's the last I knew. There it is. It says girlfriend. D. What if him, D, the parents, the 2 kids, were going to go to the Seaquarium? Remember when we went to the Seaquarium? Mm-hmm. What if today was Seaquarium Day or Beach Day? I mean, you just kind of ruined all that. Like, we need to find out what happened with this pick, or if it was just that incident, or if something had harbored from earlier in the night that made him react. But something tells me he was just.
It'd have to be pretty bad.
That this just is what happened.
It'd have to
they
be
were both
really
walking
bad
out of a
to
club. Someone took a picture, and dude just wasn't having it.
Mm-hmm. But it could just be it was a great night, and he was just walking, and somebody took a picture, and it pissed him off, and he did that. It could also be that, right? I mean, that's the problem with this whole scenario.
Yeah. 877-FIGHT-93, 877-344-4893 is the number to call in.
Josh, we haven't heard from you yet. What do you think about all this?
It's the kind of thing that I thought back when the dolly got launched through the window in Brooklyn. I mean, the guy's playing with fire. Shout out to Proper 12, though. I do like the whiskey. But, no, I mean, look, I'm a fan of the guy. He's entertaining as hell. I think it's great for the sport when he's fighting. This kind of stuff, not so great. Now, let's see how bad it is. I mean, I certainly hope it doesn't prevent a return to the octagon. I certainly hope it doesn't lead to any extensive jail time, lawsuits, legal woes. I think we all want to see the guy back in the octagon. I'm entertained by him, but I think he just doesn't have someone perhaps in his circle to just tell him, no, like, stop, slow down a second, like, look, I love the whole badass character. I don't want to call it a gimmick. It's more of an attitude. Like, he was kind of like the real life Stone Cold Steve Austin at this point, like doing what he wants when he wants. The problem is we're in the real world. This isn't a scripted world. Stuff happens and there are repercussions for it. You can't just go stomping on a guy's phone and taking it even though you're not happy with the picture. So, look, I'm a fan of the guy. I hope it's not too I hope it's not too serious. I hope we see him in the octagon sooner than later. I hope this blows over. We'll see if it does.
Josh, I don't want to jump on the Conor McGregor Proper 12 hate train, but when I come out to New York the next time, can we get some good whiskey together? Can you let me do that for you? We'll go to Norman's Kill down in Brooklyn or something, and I'll show you some good stuff.
Listen, I'm all ears to learn more in my own city, so let's go, Dan. As long as you let me take you for picklebacks in Brooklyn, where picklebacks were.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I got my card at the Bushwick Country Club. I do a pickleback just to get my members club card.
There's some really good tweets coming out of this, guys, and we're going to tackle that when we come back in about 60 seconds. You guys are going to like some of these. Jorge Masvidal leading the charge. You know, there's always a Twitter reaction to the big news. Big news being Conor McGregor arrested a few hours ago for felony robbery, smashing and stealing a fan's phone is what it boils down to. We'll tell you more about it when we come back, and we'll also talk about UFC Wichita. 2 guests coming your way, also Bob Perez and Matt Schnell. Stay close.
Reschedule that meeting. Call your wife and tell her lunch is off. It's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes.
All right, let's do some Twitter reactions to Conor McGregor being arrested earlier today. This happens with all the big news. You can see it on our website, MMA Junkie. Shout out to Mike Bond. He's usually quarterbacking this. But honestly, I'm not sure who did it. So Jorge Masvidal at Game Bred Fighter says, can't do some shit in my city without asking permission first. Hashtag bienvenido al Miami. Jedi Goodman at Jedi Goodman says, Conor's community service should be he has to fight on the hashtag UFC Sunrise card. So Sunrise, Florida is where this fight card's taking place in Miami on April 27th. Which was going to be headlined by Yoel Romero and Paulo Costa. And then last week we had the change. Now it's Yoel Romero versus Jacare 2. It's in Sunrise, Florida. So that was a good little zinger there. Ryzen FF, the promotion, at Ryzen FF says, he's not taking that co-main event booking very well, I see. There were rumors that last week the Conor McGregor Cowboy Cerrone fight fell apart because anytime the UFC has a pay-per-view, which we all know Conor McGregor's not going to fight on anything other than a pay-per-view. The UFC wants to go with, in the main event, a title fight. Well, McGregor doesn't hold the title and isn't challenging for a title. So McGregor wanted none of that. He wanted top billing, and that's why that fight fell apart. So that was a very clever zinger by
That's the actual promotion?
FF. Yeah, it looks like it to me, yeah. Mike Chiappetta, MMA. So... excuse me, it's at Mike Chiappetta's his Twitter handle. He says, alternative headline, Conor McGregor gave a fan a surprise phone upgrade first thing this morning in Miami. Okay. At I Aquinta Realty. Now, I don't believe this is Al, but in the past, this person's been pretty clever, and I just don't know the connection between Al or not. But he says, the UFC is so mad they gave him my bonus.
All right.
MMA Roasted. I haven't gotten to theirs, but he's retweeting that one. It says, Conor McGregor got arrested for stealing and smashing a fan's phone. This is no way to treat Dylan Dennis. At MMA Roasted. Dude, Roasted had an awesome one. Can I just pull out of this topic for a second just so I can find that one?
Sure.
He fucked up Ben Askren, dude.
Oh, about the...
Oh, my God. Yeah, he waxed him. And Ben actually retweeted it, which, bravo, Ben. Sometimes if you get thumped, what can you do other than just go with it? You know what I mean?
I live to fight another day.
Exactly, man. But let me see if I can find that one really fast. Hopefully I won't have to scroll down too much. Oh, boy. At MMA Roast. That's our good friend, Adam Hunter. He's the At MMA Roasted account. And it happened over the weekend, and I'm stalling because I'm scrolling. But it was that good that you'll love it when I get to it. Where is it? March 9th. When did it happen, guys? March 9th?
I thought it was Saturday.
You saw it? You saw it, right?
Yeah. I mean, if it's
Oh
the same
my God,
one
this
about,
tweet's
about the person not having
He tweets that much that I have to scroll this much just to find it? Well, here he goes. Tweet of the Year candidate. Here we go. That means he saw it. Okay. So Ben Askren said, just put up a shelf in the new house. He's got a real cool pic of shelves. Have you seen this, Dan?
No.
Just put up the bookshelf in the new house. Sick. That looks like maybe
I
his
saw
daughter.
that. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And he's proud of his work. You know, guys, when they build something, they want to post it.
Oh, yeah.
Same way, whether it's culinary or whatever. Some guys will do this. And Adam Hunter from MMA Roasted told him, I heard you built it with your feet since you have absolutely no hands.
Pretty good.
You don't like that, Dan?
Sorry, I was catching up on a tweet myself.
I heard you built it with your feet since you have absolutely no hands.
Oh, that's a good
I
one.
mean,
There
just
you go.
destroyed the
Destroyed
guy.
him,
And he got a
Jesus.
ton of love, and everybody's laughing their asses off. So
Yeah, I didn't see that. I saw his bookshelf tweet, but I didn't see the quote tweet from Roasted on it. That's
oh man, I was at
Shouts to Adam, man.
Yeah. Ben Folks is at Ben Folks MMA. Is someone about to become better acquainted with the churches of the Miami area? Thanks to some
reading just that one.
court-ordered community service. Good one, Ben. I like that. Man, Ryan Loco, at Ryan Loco, show me one instance of Babe Ruth destroying someone's iPhone. Bet you can't.
All right.
Yeah.
Not bad.
I think that's it. That's all I can find. All right. Who do we have, guys?
They dropped.
Oh, they dropped. Okay. 877-FIGHT-93 is the number to call in. 877-344-4893 if you want to chime in on Conor McGregor being arrested for felony robbery for smashing and stealing a fan's phone. The details are limited, but we've been reacting to this. This is an incident that took place earlier today, 5 a.m. approximately this morning, and he was arrested hours later. 6 p.m.
Hey, I know we
Eastern.
got the daily debate looming, but can I kind of throw a semi-daily debate at you guys regarding this?
Sure.
I'm ready.
So take into account this arrest, how, Conor's standing in the UFC, how he gets booked, the matchmaking, everything. But this arrest, too. Do we see Conor McGregor hold the championship belt in the UFC again?
Ooh, good question there. If the right matchup is there for him, he's got the skills. And I'll give you an example. Who's fighting for the interim title, Josh, at UFC 236? Tell me the two combatants.
Yeah, that would be Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier.
Guess who beat both of them?
Yeah, but you don't
Devil's
think those-
advocate says, though, that was a long time ago.
Well,
But
I'm
that's a
just
fair
saying.
point.
I'm just saying possibility. I'm not saying mail it in. It's a lock or nothing like that. But
Totally.
if Habib, if the title was out of his hands, so let's say Habib runs into Max or Dustin Poirier, and one of those takes it off his hands, Conor's always a live dog because he doesn't even have to be on a win streak. He just has to be breathing and on this planet, and he's already in title picture. And so by doing so, if he is in the title picture and one of those two owns the belt, or hell, maybe they don't even beat Khabib. Maybe Khabib just never comes back, and one of these interim champs is promoted to the undisputed champ. So, yeah, to answer your question, yes. But I'm kind of stretching things here a little bit. So I think that with his outside troubles and with the fact that I just don't think he's getting better at the rate that the others are, I think probably no. I mean, Khabib's still the champ, so we know 55 is really tough. 45 seems more like a weight cut thing, and even though it's Max that holds the belt, since then, who's been performing great at 45? Maybe some are saying maybe the best 45er ever. Max Holloway. Guess who hasn't fought at 45 in years? Conor McGregor. So that one's a tough.
But what's your gun to the head response? I think that's what everybody's looking for.
If Conor McGregor will ever become a world champion again?
Gun to the head.
No.
Mine is going to be no, too.
He's not 26 anymore.
But if we play your game,
yeah.
The only I wouldn't give him the 145 because I just don't think he'll ever make it. Your 155 scenario is kind of interesting, but a lot has to happen. How about 165 if that belt ever gets introduced? Maybe I could see him slipping in somehow.
No,
there.
because now I see the Askrens of the world, the Covingtons of the world, and even a Habib moving up to that of the world. Tony Ferguson was putting out a tweet saying, time to pack on some muscle, and I didn't know if he was implying he's going to 70.
Max Katie?
You're just running into guys that can stop what Conor McGregor's good at. Do you see that?
As far as the gun to the head goes, I'm going to say no. I think he gets the opportunities for all the reasons you said, George. But I think all those guys, including Poirier, takes his lunch money. Even if he puts in a good camp.
At 55?
Yeah, even if he puts in a good camp within the next year, puts all his focus on it. I still don't know if I can take him. And I think that's only going to get worse for him, not just from his personal trajectory that's having us all kind of in a disarray right now, but also stylistically, guys. That style does not age well. We've seen it. Timing, striking, knockout artists, those are the first guys to hit. And lighter weight guys, mind you, as well. Those are the first guys to drop off the cliff, right? We've seen it from we've seen it a whole lot, right? Whereas guys even that take a lot of damage, like a Diego Sanchez, if you have that grinding wrestling style, that survives the years. You beat guys through generations with that style. And even though Khabib might be a grinder and Dustin and Max Holloway aren't grinders per se, I believe they grind with their overall volume that really would just, unless Conor would hit either, he would have to hurt, not just stop, but at least hurt both those guys early in their matchups to have a chance. Otherwise, I see those guys just beating them down the stretch of a 5-round fight, putting numbers on them.
Yeah, their cardio is exceptional too,
Yep.
both of those two guys. And, man, I love picturing it though, as you were talking, just seeing all these ways in which I'm picturing in the ways that Conor McGregor's been stifled. You know what I mean? And I remember the first time he hit Nate and he hurt Nate, but then Nate hurt him back and Nate wasn't going away. And you just see the look on the person like, wait a minute, I got this big left hand. That's supposed to end this whole thing. You know what I mean? It doesn't happen with everyone. It happened with Eddie Alvarez. I mean, he put him down like 4 or 5 times before he finished Eddie Alvarez. And I was like, wow, he's making Eddie Alvarez not look like the Eddie Alvarez that I know. But every matchup is different. And there's one way goes that Conor McGregor could catch a break, and that's by being on the same card in which the title's being disputed. And if someone doesn't make weight, again, it's just got to be the right matchup, honestly.
But he'd have to be the co-mate.
He'll get
That's another thing, yeah.
And he'll get those opportunities. It's just can he capitalize? And I agree with you guys on 165. I know people have done faux drafts before from Luke Thomas, or shout outs to the Heavy Hand podcast, and I tend to agree with all those dudes. I think that would end up as a wrestlers division. I see Kevin Lee and Colby Covington, names like that, dominating that division. Then you got guys like Chiesa, who would be in that division as well. And Chiesa, say what you will, again, we're talking about styles here. He's another guy that'll be a bad styles matchup for McGregor. So I don't see any success going up there. Especially, he might be able to do that thing where he capitalizes on a guy on his way out that a lot of us may have thought Aldo was at the time, though. Some people are closing the book too tight. With Woodley, he planted that seed back at UFC 205, guys, but Woodley's knocked out of there. He's got bigger things to fry for himself.
I did think that had Stephen Thompson beaten Woodley, Thompson and McGregor would have been interesting, and I thought that was a chance where McGregor could go for a third title, but it had to be the right matchup. I knew he couldn't do it with Woodley, but I knew that with Thompson, at least there was a little bit more of it. It has to be at the right time, and now, right now, you got Kamaru Usman, who's I mean, that guy's a handful too, man. Excuse me, 70s. So stacked. All right. Great question there, Josh. And now we got to do the real daily debate. So hit it, Josh.
The brothers Garcia seemingly can't agree on anything.
Everybody knows it's duck season.
Rabbit season.
Duck season.
Rabbit season.
Whether it's food,
Less filling.
Tastes great.
Less filling.
Tastes great.
gambling,
Always bet on black.
I like red.
Black.
Red.
Black.
Red.
Black, dummy.
or even social media,
Instagram.
Snapchat.
Instagram.
Snapchat.
the same applies to the biggest stories in MMA. Time for MMA Junkie Radio's Daily Debate.
All right, fellas, here we go. Today's hashtag daily debate for at MMA Junkie Radio. Who was the brightest potential new star to come out of this past Saturday's hashtag UFC Wichita event? 3 choices, and then, of course, other. Nico Price, Matt Schnell, Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos, or other. Go ahead, Dan.
I think the easy choice here probably is Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. I mean, I know what you're going to say, but you picked against him, Dan. Unfortunately, we got to make picks in this business. It's not fun. But I will say, on this show, in our defense, guys, we've been talking about this guy.
You said a lot about him, man.
Said ever since last year. I've been high on this guy. Was glad to see him get his spot. And judging by Twitter and the reactions I'm seeing on social media, I think a lot of people are saying the same thing. But I actually just wanted to give a shout to other guys, and that was Beneil Dariush. Not only was it a tough, hard-fought win, that was probably the next hardest fight next to the co-main event to pick between him and Dober. He gets the tough fought win, but after what he said, in this age of, trash talking and disingenuousness and craziness, let's just be honest, in our sport, Beneil Dariush had some, refreshing things to say, always has great post-fight interviews, and just a great role model. I want to give Beneil a shout.
Okay, how about you, guys?
I am going to go with the low-hanging fruit. I mean, it was something that you couldn't avoid. People were talking about it, especially because Curtis Millender was on a pretty good roll, and a lot of us were talking about the potential that he could have. And Dos Santos not only beat him, but he kind of handled him, from the get-go. That was a very big statement win. The thing is, when you want to become a star, you have to have staying power. So I think in these next couple days, he needs to get out there, do interviews, do stuff to keep his name out there, because there's another card coming up, and we could have this whole new debate on an entirely different card, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I'm going to go with other.
All right.
I think Anthony Rocco Martin.
Nice.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
There was a lot of love for him because what did he do? For one, he's adopted the Rocco persona, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. 2, he's part of being a power couple. He dates judoka Kayla Harrison, and they're always together. He's part of a big team. He's got the lamb chops going, so he's got a little bit of the look. People are just talking about Rocco, and he's fighting frequently, so he hits a lot of those check marks that I always tell fighters, see if you can do this. Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos, had he done if he had messed Curtis up over 15 minutes, I thought it would have done a lot better. Plus, not to take anything away, that was very impressive what he did. I hope you guys don't think that. I don't think that. But man, the whole thing with the just not being able to speak a lick of English, I don't know. I see it, but I think I can easily forget him. But I'm a hardcore, and I forget him at times. So I'll see him, and I'll just go, yeah, that was impressive, blah, blah, blah. But next weekend when I'm hanging out with Big Ralph or something, and everybody's talking about welterweights, he's not rolling off the top of my tongue.
What about the beard and the serial killer look and the final countdown walkout? Final countdown, George.
I had already forgotten about that.
Oh.
If you can't speak English, if you can't speak the lick of English, then you better have the highlight reel to go with it. A la Anderson Silva, right?
Or
he got away with it for a long time.
Emelianenko, man.
Yeah,
and he's
got it. He's pretty close.
That was pretty nice. It was pretty nice, but I thought Rocco, not just this fight, but what he's been doing has been a pretty cool story. So I'll probably get more excited about his next fight booking versus Zaleski dos Santos, because I just don't even know. I mean, he says he wants a top 5 guy, but he doesn't deserve a top 5 guy just yet. He deserves probably a top 10 guy, maybe, but I don't know. I wish he would have a little bit better communication, and yeah. I mean, it's close, guys. I had to think about this. Don't get me wrong.
All right.
I'm going with Rocco, yeah. All right, this is how the voting came out. 55% said Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. 35% said Nico Price. 8% said Matt Schnell. 2% said, I agree with Gigi the Genius. And other.
All right.
That's it. We got to go to break. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 93. When we come back, we'll be talking to Matt Schnell, one of those bright potential new stars who came out of this past Saturday's UFC Wichita event.
And they get paid to be lame. Here are Gorgeous George and Goes.
All right, we're back, and as you can tell, we're going to be joined by Matt Schnell. Follow him on Twitter at danger_caged. Schnell got a big win this past Saturday at UFC Wichita over Louis Smolka. That's his third win in a row, and he's 13-4 now. This was a return to bantamweight for Matt, but Matt kept it open. He said, "Hey, man, flyweight or bantamweight, it doesn't matter," and I can tell he's definitely turned a corner. He joins us now on the hotline. What's up, Matt? How you doing? Welcome back to MMA Junkie Radio.
I'm doing great. It's good to be back after a big weekend.
Bro, you were a beast on Saturday. That was really, really impressive. I know that it all happened in one round, but it just seemed like you were moves ahead of Louis, who, by the way, has also turned a corner since he got cut from the UFC and then came back. He's also been fighting well, so that was a really solid win for you, my man.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Put together a good game plan, believed in it, went out there and tried to apply it, and it worked out.
And you're right. You just need to fight more often. You only fought once in all of 2018, and I think you just need to build on this, because if you can stay fluid like that, keep active, get a win streak going, I think you're very marketable. I've always thought that. So hopefully the matchmakers are listening and they can keep you active in 2019.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think they will. I think they've got me in mind for fights. Actually, they did just offer me a short notice opportunity. I'm not going to say who because I don't know if I can, but, yeah, so I mean, they're going to give me opportunities to get back in there. I might not be able to do this one just because I had some things add up on me during training camp, but hopefully I don't get shelved because of it.
So it's like they called your bluff, and now you got to decide whether you put them all in or not. How long are you going to take to think about this decision?
It just doesn't make any sense. I've got to bring myself back along and get healthy and get myself, back refocused so that I can make another good run at it. I believe in preparation, and I think that with solid preparation, I can beat anybody. And that's always kind of been the thing that I've said and the narrative I've tried to push.
So you can't say who. Can you say when were they looking to get you to fight?
In Philadelphia, March 30th.
Wow, like in 3 weeks?
Yeah, in 3 weeks.
Damn. All right, now, you said there's some things that you want to get cleared up. So I'll just, I guess, categorize them as minor injuries. But explain this to me. You look so good on Saturday. Did you actually pick up an injury on Saturday? Or did you feel something while you were fighting on Saturday? Because to me, it looked like you could fight in 3 weeks. So, I mean, just kind of clear that up for me personally, if you don't mind.
Yeah, it was just a nagging thing that I dealt with, and I was dealing with it on Saturday too. I was just able to bite down and work my way through it. But more than anything, I just want to make sure that it's not something that will affect me permanently, and that's my main concern, right? Is my career over the long run. So whatever it is, hopefully we can get it cleared up in the next couple of days. I'll probably have to fly out to Vegas and have them look at it, and that's no big deal. I'm willing to do that, but. Yeah, I just want to get, just want to get some clarity.
All right, that would have been a quick turnaround for sure, and that's not easy to do. But I'm glad you're thinking about this clearly and not making a hasty decision. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's just funny asking you salary fees.
I know.
So, I know. My next fight, if it's 8 months from now, I definitely can't be like, well, these guys won't offer me fights because they certainly.
Well, yeah, you can. I'm gonna go to bat for your defense. Yeah, you can because you asked for a quick fight, but come on, 3 weeks. Like really, if that fight's at we'll call it the 29th or whatever, that's 18 days away. You got to be there on the 22nd, already focused on losing weight. So between the 11th and 22nd, you're not getting better because you're not really going over technique. You're going over like the fastest game plan ever. So had they said like June and you turned it down, then I'd say, oh yeah, then maybe maybe now they can, take their time with you. But if they were to shelve you because you didn't take that, I'd say, come on, guys, that's not fair. That's not what he was asking for. He was just asking to fight every 3 months, every 4 months. You know what I mean? So don't feel like you owe them one or anything like that. It was nice that they attempted something, and had it worked, I think they can tell that you're the type of guy that would have taken it. But at the same time, I think you're making a solid decision, Matt Schnell.
Well, we will. Time will tell.
Yep. All right, so let me pass it over to Goes here. Goes, what do you have for Matt Schnell?
Yeah, I'm gonna second that. As a fan watching that, when I hear a fighter say that, I interpret it as the fighter meaning, if I'm 100% healthy, I want to be as active as possible. Obviously, not everybody makes it out 100% healthy, so I wouldn't take it that way either, Matt. But let me ask you something. After your fight, there were so many people saying, this Matt Schnell guy, he looks so good, and they would say it, and I don't mean any disrespect by this, because there's so many fighters and there's so many cards, but they were saying it as if this was like one of the first times they had seen you. You've been doing this for a while. That being said, I was thinking about your career. Where do you feel like you're at right now? Because some fighters will say they feel like they're in their prime. Some say they haven't even reached it. With you, where do you think you are in this process?
Yeah, I think we're starting to see things play out the way that they do more commonly when I'm training, and I'm actually able to take things from the gym and apply them. I've noticed over the last 2 training camps that I've really been able to tune in and learn a lot, and through studying my opponent and just putting together a game plan and sticking to it and staying disciplined, that I really think that, like I said, 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, you give me 6 to 8 weeks on anybody. Doesn't matter whose name's on the contract. I believe me and my team can put together a game plan, and we can put that guy away. So I've got a good team around me. I've got good training partners. We always trying to figure things out. I definitely don't have it figured out. So we're always tweaking things and trying to get better. But I'm in a good place, and if I'm not in my prime, I'm headed towards it.
I know you're really big, not just yourself, but your camp in general is very good at game planning, and you mentioned your game plan a few times. The ending sequence of the fight, did you envision an ending either that way or similar to that?
Yeah, it was actually, we probably didn't want to hop on his neck, but I've got a good guillotine, and I like to clamp that thing on, and I don't feel like it's an end game for me. If I miss my guillotine, I've got several ways up, or back to it, or back to something else. So we knew he was going to be made of bubble gum. So I wasn't surprised when I latched on his neck and I had a tight squeeze and I could still hear him breathing. He's just one of those guys who's probably difficult to choke. So it probably wasn't completely the game plan, but we knew what to do. And you saw me get active when I knew it wasn't there. And that's because I've got a bunch of fights and I've gone out there and squeezed myself out before, and I know how to not do that.
I may have read this wrong, Matt, but it seemed like during your post-fight interview, right when it was ending, it seemed like maybe you had one more thing to say, but John had already left the cage by then. Did you have one more thing to say? And if so, can you share it here?
No, I was confused on how to get out of the cage. I went the wrong way, and they pointed me in the other direction. No, I didn't have anything else to say. I was surprised I got interviewed because I hadn't, and so not that I prepare anything, but it still did catch me off guard a little bit, and I probably should have took a couple extra deep breaths before I started talking. But yeah, no, I said what I wanted to.
You've never gotten the interview after a UFC fight?
No, that's my first one.
Oh. I'm looking here, and it could be sometimes not anything personal, but because they budget 30 minutes for every fight, if your fight went to a decision, whether it was you or the people behind you, if they put the production behind schedule, sometimes they'll do that. But that's all I can think of. I don't think
that's what I figured. That's what I figured too. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Interesting. All right, Dan, Tom, what do you have for Matt Schnell?
Hey, Matt, I feel for you when you're talking about, the fights and wanting more fights. It's something I really noticed, especially in the lead up to this card. I watched some interviews you did and some other fighters, and I noticed that was a common theme. And I'm sure we can probably read between the lines. I mean, you look at the UFC schedule and all that, and it kind of puts everybody in a funny situation. But I got to ask, I really love your style of training, and it's proven to pay off with the streak you're on. It's super impressive. But when I say your style of training, for people that don't know, you yourself say you're a bit, almost nomadic in a way. You'll go to different camps and train with some really quality people. I mean, we've had you in the studio here when you were out in Vegas and so forth. But I got to ask you, Matt, does that make it extra tough not having the fights or that paycheck to look forward to and being able to assert this time? I mean, I don't think a lot of the listeners maybe realize and the fans realize how much, you fighters got to sacrifice on that end.
Yeah, but I'm not exactly sure what the question was. I'm sorry. I think when you don't fight regularly, obviously you don't make much money. But I'm fortunate because I'm pretty good with my money, and I feel that I live within my means, and so I do my best. And when I go and travel to places and people bring me out, most of the time they pay me as well. So it's not like I'm going into guys' camps and just doing it for nothing. So that is also a way for me to kind of get a little pay. I also teach here regularly, which I make decent money doing that as well. So I keep myself busy. I live within my means, and that's why I'm comfortable with being more patient and not having to jump on these fights that they offer me on 2 weeks' notice and short notice and stuff. I like to wait until they offer me something, give me ample opportunity to prepare, and so that's a reason why it's been slow for sure. And so again, and I've been honest about that too. But yeah, you got to take the fights the opportunities they give you. If I was hard on money, I'd take them all.
Right. No worries. And you actually answered the question just fine. But yeah, again, just I definitely sympathize with that. But I can tell that you teach, actually. Funny that you mentioned that, because you're so good, Matt, at breaking things down. We've interviewed you before, hear you in your post-fight speeches. You break things down so well. So just let me ask you, this isn't the first triangle you've gotten, obviously, as a pro. You got one in the Ultimate Fighter House. But if you look back earlier in your record, you've even got some inverted triangles there. Is that something you just like with your long legs and frame? Because you certainly adjusted, and anybody can catch it, but you adjusted it like a pro on the night, man. So is that some favorite of yours?
It's actually one of my best submissions, and it's strange that I haven't finished it more in fights because in the gym it's one of the ones that I've finished the most and always have. The inverted triangle, that was a completely different thing, and if you don't even count the one on the Ultimate Fighter, though it does count to me. It isn't this is my first official triangle finished in a UFC fight, and like I said, it's been my best. It's not just my best submission, but it's been my best submission my entire martial arts career. So it's funny that here we are, and I'm pulling it off at the highest level. So
Hey man, like I said, I was very, very impressed, and I think a lot of people, including myself, Matt, I felt like I always question, I knew you were UFC material, and I knew you could compete and win more fights than you lose. I always wondered, is he championship material? The only way we get those questions answered is when you start fighting the better competition. And again, Louis Smolka's a tough dude, you know what I mean? And the way you looked, I could just tell you've made a lot of improvements. And so I really love the trajectory of you, and all this happened at bantamweight. I love the fact that if flyweight can still exist, you can go back to that. You haven't let that, I guess, maybe affect you mentally, because I know that's been really, really rough on a lot of the 25ers. But I hope you get over these minor injuries that you have, and if you can have like a 2-0 year with a couple bonuses, oh man, I would love to see how 2020 can start, looking for you in terms of like a championship run. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, and that's what we got planned. So yeah, I'm trying to. I'll take the next couple of days off. I'm going to get back into training on Thursday. I've already got it scheduled back to lifting weights on Friday, and I've got some weight to gain if I'm gonna fight at bantamweight, and that's kind of what I'm planning on doing anyways. Is trying to add a little more weight, because even fighting at flyweight, maybe I could stand to add a little more mass. So I'm not sure what's going to happen or what the future holds, but I can promise you this: every time I go out there, I'm gonna fight really, really hard and do my best. And if the night comes together for me, you'll have more performances just like Saturday night.
Did you ask, by the way, while you were out there, hey man, what's the future of 25? Anybody that was wearing a suit, that works for the UFC?
I think those conversations are best done in private, and it's hard to get a hold of those guys. But I know Mick, and I'm gonna talk to him a little more closely. So have a conversation with him here in the next few days. But yeah, like I told these guys, here's the thing. I'm trying to make the most money I possibly can. I'm trying to fight as much as I possibly can. I want the best opportunities I can possibly get. So whatever leads me down that route is the route I'm going to take, and that's my piece on it. All
right, cool. All right, in the meantime, again, congratulations. That was really, really a great fight to watch, and 3-fight win streak. Early in 2009, or you have a 3-fight win streak. It's early in 2019, so hopefully 2019 is a busy year for you. And like I said, I'd love to see what these next 3 to 6 fights looks like for you, because you really, really turned the corner. So thanks for the time you gave us here on the MMA Junkie Radio Show, and let's catch up soon. Especially if you come out to Vegas, let us know. We'd love to have you in studio.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll probably be soon, so I'll take you up on that.
Awesome. All right, take care, Matt. We'll see you. All right, folks, that's Matt Schnell, recent winner of, at UFC Wichita over Louis Smolka. You can follow him on Twitter at danger_caged. And we'll be right back. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 93. Our guest will be Bob Perez, the lead corner for Derek Lewis, who was involved in the main event at UFC Wichita.
Aliens and instantly returned for raiding all their snacks. They are Gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
Tonight at 10:30 Eastern, the Boston Celtics duel with the LA Clippers on NBA Radio, Sirius 207, XM86, and streaming on your phone and at home on Sirius XM connected devices and speakers. No advice on the gaming side because a lot of superstars are just getting shelved at this point, and we just got to get into playoff mode. So, yeah, I'll stay away from that one. All right, let's talk to Bob Perez. Bob Perez, you've seen him in the corner of Derek Lewis. And, guys, we've been covering Derek Lewis for many years, but this is the guy that leads him to battle, the game planner, if you will. And, you know, Derek's always messing with us. Sometimes we don't know if we're getting a troll job or if he's being serious. I figured, hey, let's go straight to the coach and see what he has to say. So I'm really excited about this. Joining us now on the hotline is Bob Perez. What's up, Bob? How you doing?
Good, guys. How are you?
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much for asking. Man, it's been a fun ride watching the Black Beast, you know, go from the LFC to when they became LFA, and then seeing him go on that incredible run in the UFC with some vicious KOs, and always seeing, you know, you by his side. We just wanted to, I guess, talk to you a little bit more if we can going forward as well, because Derek's so unique, and we really love that guy, you know what I mean? And I know last weekend didn't go his way, but either way, these last 5 years or so has been an incredible run for you guys.
Absolutely. You know, Derek and I, you know, I think April the 19th will be 5 years that he's been in the UFC. The fight with Junior was number 17. And like you said, it's been just a hell of a ride. And, you know, he and I he's my family, you know. The Derek that you guys get on the interviews and social media, Derek, that's not the Derek that I know. You know, he's actually a very private, very quiet, very humble guy, but he likes to put on a show.
So, Coach, you know, we've seen him go the 25 minutes. I mean, we've seen him do the 5 rounds. We've seen him do the 15 rounds and still sustain his power. Is he just messing with us a little bit when he kind of jokes around that maybe he didn't train as hard, or maybe he did? Like, he always kind of throws riddles our way. But you tell us, is he a pretty hard worker?
Derek does train differently than any fighter I've ever had. And here at our gym, we have easily over 100 fighters between, you know, pro boxing, Muay Thai, and MMA, and they all do train a certain way. So they're taking classes, they're doing the pro classes, the pro sparring, they're doing jiu-jitsu, you know, for the MMA guys. They're doing everything that a fighter does 2 or 3 a days, several hours a day. Derek doesn't do what most of them have done. And, you know, I've got over 60 champions in MMA myself, but I've never had somebody, you know, reach the level that Derek has. And I remember several years back asking Coach Jackson, Greg Jackson, he's a friend of mine, for his advice. Like, dude, what do I do? He's like, don't do anything. He's like, you just keep doing what you're doing and let Derek do what he does. And that was the best advice. If I would have tried to make Derek train like everybody else, if I would have tried to make him more technical, like if you watch the fighters that come out of the gym, we've got WBC champs, Muay Thai world champions, you know, they're very technical when they fight. That would have ruined Derek. I just have to let Derek fight the way he fights. That being said, you know, there have been camps where he doesn't do a whole hell of a lot, but we've been changing that, you know, as time progresses, and he's really starting to come into his own. He's starting to wrestle more, starting to do more jiu-jitsu. You know, the one thing Derek doesn't do is spar, just because Derek has a very tough time separating sparring from fighting. So, you know, you know, technical sparring, you know, in regards to striking, it turns into a fight within the first 30 seconds, and that never ends well. But he is, you know, rolling and wrestling, so he's getting live rounds that way.
Well, that's great to hear. All right, and shout out to Main Street Boxing and Muay Thai in Houston, Texas. That's crew Bob Perez's gym, and he's our guest here on the MMA Junkie Radio Show. Let me turn it over to the guys here, and then I'll circle back. All right, let's start off with you this time, Dan. Dan, Tom, our fight analyst, what do you have for Coach Perez?
Man, I'm so excited when I saw you got Bob Perez on, because obviously, you know, we're media, we're supposed to be unbiased, but it's no secret. I think Derek Lewis is in our picture on Twitter where we have our main photo, and you guys have gone military trust from him. We love the Black Beast, Bob, but I was glad to have you on because, first, I just want to pay you a compliment. I watched a lot of footage, and it's so hard to read a guy like Derek Lewis. I'll tell you, as much as we love him, like George said, we can't get much from his interviews, and And perhaps there's even a little bit of that possum playing as far as his style goes, which you can touch on, Coach. But I love watching you in the corner particular because of all that Derek Lewis gamesmanship that he throws out to the world. It really, you're not BSing, Coach. It really seems like you've got a direct pathway with him. I love how concise you are in the corner. You never BS your fighter. You tell him exactly where he's at in the fight. And for what it's worth, Lewis seems to respond. Is that what you mean by you see a side of him that not many people really even get to get a glimpse of?
I think coaches in general, or coaches that generally take a vested interest or love their fighters, and I love every single fighter that I've ever had, but Derek and I, we just have a bond. And so a lot of times in the corner, man, you have to give extreme, technical instruction. Sometimes you just have to be a motivator, like with the Volkov fight. My goal, I told him what he needed to do, but I kind of needed to light a fire under him. We have that connection. Will he admit it? Probably not. But that's what I love about him. I know Derek. Going into the second round here, I actually kind of revisited the Volkov fight. I'm like, buddy, once again, it's kill or be killed. I knew going into the third round, I knew he was already hurt. I wasn't sure the extent of the body damage. His left knee, he wasn't moving properly anymore. So even though he had the cardio to go 5, you could tell he wasn't winded. He wasn't breathing too hard. He was still moving, fairly well. I didn't know the extent of the injury in regards to the knee or his belly. The Travis Brown fight, I sit him on a stool. Hey, buddy, give me 3 big breaths. Are you okay? He said, yeah. Told the world, he had to take a crap, but basically he had 2 broken ribs. So, going into the second round, I'm like, I didn't know the extent of the injury. Derek, of course, is going to tell me he's fine, but I wanted to finish that fight.
Damn,
no,
2 broken ribs.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was a similar scenario, I'm sure you can tell us, where we thought it might have been ribs and apparently it was knees and something else. But Bob, while we got you on the phone, and again, we're big fans of Derek Lewis's fights here, but if we got to be critical, maybe even speaking from a fan's perspective, I feel like there may be even maybe frustration's a strong word. We all love watching Derek Lewis fight, but when we keep hearing him say that he's got injuries, he wants to take time off, and it's true, he has so much respect for the hellacious schedule he's kept. But then what does he do? He comes back in and takes a fight, and then what do we find out? He wasn't 100%, and this is a story that kind of has been, I don't want to say maybe prevalent's a strong word here, Coach, but it's kind of popped up. And if we're trying to again look at Derek Lewis critically, you got to wonder what is the motivation, or are these just circumstances that just happen to pop up in a fight camp that every other fighter deals with? Does that make any sense, Coach?
I fully understand your I guess concern, or with the fans' perception of what's going on, and that's true. Derek says he needs time off, and then he's the best way I can put it, man. He's just a gamer. He's a scrapper. He's a fighter, and when you put that fight in front of him, it's really hard for him to say no. Obviously, the monetary reasons behind it. Derek's very adamant. I do this to feed my family, and that's exactly right. So it's hard to see that payday and say no, whether he's 100% or not. That being said, as a coach, there have been times where dude, maybe we shouldn't do this, but I let Derek make that decision. But yeah, you're right. I would like to see him heal and take time off and get whatever sort of, medical treatments, he needs to get. He's beaten up. He's got, with his amateur fights, almost, I want to say 35, 40 fights. He's 17 fights in the UFC, the most active guy other than Cerrone. So I would like him to rest, man, to heal his mind, to heal his body, and figure everything out and get better.
And heal the knee, right? Is it a knee we're hearing that was injured or has been injured?
Well, yeah, I don't want to say too much, just because I don't, want to give too much away. But early in the camp, this was, it was February 12th, we got MRI results back on the knee. We got a second opinion, and as far as I was concerned, I'm like, dude, we gotta pull. But Derek's like, hell no, we're not going to pull. So I know we go back to the doctor on the 18th, and we'll find out exactly what's going on with his knee, and the I guess proper course of treatment or surgery or whatever he needs. But I'm sure he's been dealing with this for quite some time. It's just all coming to a head now, and. I guess we'll find out later. I guess next week, we'll go to the doctor, see what the next course is.
Bob Perez from Main Street Boxing and Muay Thai in Houston, Texas, our guest here. Most recently in the corner of Derek Lewis as he battled Junior Dos Santos this past Saturday. What a fight. These big guys went at it. I was on the edge of my seat. I can only imagine how excited you get. You got the best seat in the house. Goes. What do you have for Coach Perez?
Coach, now, you know, on this show at least, anytime Derek's been on, since day one, he's always been very clear. He's not really chasing gold. He's just chasing money. And I thought about this from a coaching perspective. I know coaches have a lot to do with whether or not fighters take fights and all that. And sometimes they look at the total picture, you know, how long the road to the title. But when a fighter just wants to make money, I think it's a lot easier to kind of pick and choose which fights make the most sense, because you almost go one at a time. Can you talk a little bit about that coaching perspective with the fighter when they lay out those type of plans?
Well, you know, generally when we get the offer, I mean, you can say, Derek, you're fighting a grizzly bear next week, and he's going to do it. As a coach, and Derek doesn't usually watch video or anything, as a coach, it's my job to study, to game plan, and hopefully implement that game plan in the fight. Obviously, there's certain variables, and like Tyson said, you know, nothing changes the game plan, you know, when you get punched. Nothing changes the game plan like when you get punched in the face. So that being said, you know, we've never said no to fights up until recently. After the DC fight, a couple weeks later, they offered Stipe in January. And Derek was just closing on his house. He just had 2 fights within a month, and we just felt like, no, we're not doing this one. So then when they offered the JDS fight, I'm like, okay, it's a little more time. I personally want him to have more time to rest. But once again, you know, it's the money. You know, he is motivated by his money and securing a financial future for himself and his family. So he's going to fight as frequently as possible. From a coaching perspective, you know, I told Derek, it always bothers me when he's like, I don't care about the title. Of course we want that title, man. Like, I want that title just for the symbolism and the history that he would make. And I always kind of try to convey to him that, dude, you win the title, there's more money. You know, so if money's a factor, man, let's get that strap. But yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Coach, have you ever come close to taking the keys to the Lambo and just going for a little joyride?
That thing scares me, man.
Oh, really?
Derek's this adrenaline junkie, man, and he loves his cars. I'm surprised, like, he fits in that thing, but you know, he's driven it to the gym, and it's actually massive from inside. But he loves speed, man. But no, dude, I'm scared.
Scared of his reaction if you take it, or scared of the car?
Both. Both. Yeah, I don't want to put a ding in that thing, man. Yeah, because he put a ding on my head for sure.
Also, can you talk him into cashing in on the Popeyes thing?
Yeah, that's bothering me the
I'm hearing he hasn't cashed in yet. What the hell?
You know, it's so funny, dude. I'm like, bro, go get you some chicken, you know, like, but I honestly think he just feels weird going up there for like his, you know, he's driving up in a Lambo and like, give me my free chicken, you know. I'm like, dude, absolutely, you need to do it. You know, one thing that Derek, you know, he is going to invest a lot of, you know, money this year, you know, for his future. And I'm like, dude, get you a couple of Popeyes, man. You're in good with them, and sit back and collect some checks.
Not a bad idea. Coach, I plan on bugging you a lot so we can learn more about your team and future fighters on another show. But thanks for joining us here today on the MMA Junkie Radio Show. And good luck to Main Street Boxing and Muay Thai. I'm hearing even more and more about it, especially around the time of Derek Lewis. He loves being a part of you know, your team and all that. So thanks for the time today. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. Anytime, anything you need, you just let me know.
Appreciate it. And folks, you can follow the coach on Twitter at CrewBobPerez, and on Instagram you can follow him at CrewBobPerez. So the same thing there. It seems like he's very active. In fact, more active on Instagram. Nice fellow though. And Dan, I can echo what you say, man. I love the way he's concise and communicates. And Derek, injured or not, dude is tough, and he's always a punch away from winning a fight. So that's why he can go out there and get down, and that's why he's continuously a top 10 fighter these last few years, because he's a gamer, man. He knows just when to pull back and throw whatever needs to throw. All right, we have to get out of here for today, folks. Keep it locked on the channel for more coverage of combat sports, boxing, pro wrestling, mixed martial arts. And we'll, when you get a chance, check out our website, MMA Junkie, and I'm sure there'll be more updates to the big news of the day, which was Conor McGregor getting arrested again. Felony charges stemming from an incident in Miami Beach. I don't think it's anything too serious, but God, on the heels of just clearing everything up in Brooklyn, it's just disappointing. We are out of here. Thanks to Matt Schnell and Bob Perez. And for Josh and Dan and Goes, I'm George. Have a nice day. Have a nice evening. We'll see you tomorrow. Go out there and be a champion.